Hi, and welcome to T1D's online workshop, Diabetes Burnout. This workshop is for teens with T1D and their parents or caregivers. Let me introduce myself. My name is Debbie Pond, and I'm the founder of Teens with Type 1 Diabetes, or 2T1D. I have 7 children and 12 grandchildren. We are currently binge watching Last Man Standing and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I believe the 70s have the best music of any decade. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Let me know what you're binging and your favorite music down in the comments. It's a great way to get to know one another. I have a son who's diagnosed with T1D as a junior in high school, and since then, I've been interested in helping families learn how to live successful lives with this autoimmune disease. Before we go any sooner, grab a paper and a pencil in case you hear anything that strikes a chord. You're like, I want to remember that. Since this workshop is about diabetes, let's get a working definition of burnout. Psychology Today defines burnout as a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. Though it's most often caused by problems at work, it can also appear in other areas of life, such as parenting, caretaking, or romantic relationships. So that's a general definition of burnout. But I found one that works better for type 1, and it's from the website Beyond Type 1. Diabetes burnout is a state in which someone with diabetes grows tired of managing their condition and then simply ignores it for a period of time, or worse, forever. After all, this is something you live with every day. If you feel this way, you are not alone. I found this story by Hadley George on Beyond Type 1, and I thought it'd be a really good story to share with you. Hadley George was diagnosed with type 1 at 4 years old. And here's her story. Like any other teenager, I wanted to fit in and be a part of the cool crowd. As you can imagine, I was unlike any of my friends. None of them had an insulin pump attached to their hip or had to prick their finger every time they ate. I wanted a boyfriend, but what boy would ever date me with all this baggage? I wanted to wear a pretty dress, but could never find a place to hide my insulin pump. I wanted a good night's rest, but was woken up to test my blood every night. In my eyes, diabetes stopped me from being a normal person. I was past the pissed off stage and arrived at the stage of sadness and disappointment. I decided the most logical solution to my problem was to ignore diabetes completely. I stopped checking my blood sugar and would randomly bolus when I could feel my blood sugar rise. Do not, I repeat, do not try this at home. My A1C shot through the roof and I was very sick, but luckily I escaped DKA. One night in December, I was alone in my room praying. I was sick of high blood sugar and feeling sick 24/7. I believe God answered my prayers and showed me 2 clear paths I could take. 1, I could fall into DKA and die soon, or 2, I could take control of my diabetes and use it to help others. In that moment, I knew I could not let diabetes win. I had to tackle it head on. Reflecting back on my freshman year, I realized I was in a deep state of diabetes burnout, when one gets tired of the endless attention diabetes requires. Does her story sound familiar? So what does diabetes burnout look like? Well, here's some ideas. It's a short list, but just a few of the things I discovered. You are tired a lot of the time. You feel alone and wonder why you are the only person who has to poke their fingers or count carbs every time you eat. You feel overwhelmed with everything you have to do to stay healthy. You lie to your parents about your numbers. Does that happen to anybody? You want to give up. You feel like a failure. and all the above makes you angry because no one else has to do what you do. So, what do you do? Well, first of all, recognize that it is okay to have all these feelings because there aren't a lot of people who feel like you do. So don't feel guilty about how you feel. And the next thing you need to do is tell somebody. You do not need to take this journey alone. You are not by yourself. Talk to your parents, tell your friends, a caregiver, anyone you trust. And then make a plan. And remember, you do not need to be perfect because it will never be perfect. So here's some ideas to maybe change up how you're feeling. If you're tired of using a pump, switch over to needles, and maybe that will help. Connect with other T1D teens. Set small goals, like checking your blood sugar every morning for breakfast for 2 weeks. It's a short-term goal, and it's achievable. Make those kinds of goals. Don't dwell on past mistakes. They're in the past. Let them stay there. Stay positive. And always talk to your parents and friends and explain to them how you're feeling and how they can help. So, are you wondering how Hadley's story ends? Here it goes. After making friends with many teenagers who also have type 1 diabetes through my social group, Type 1 Teens, I learned that it is impossible to live through teenage years without going through diabetes burnout. As a teen, you want to be independent, but the attention diabetes care requires is too strenuous for a young teen to handle. Any teenager, one with diabetes or not, is already overwhelmed with starting high school, making friends, striving in school, looking at colleges, etc. Add diabetes to the mix, and it is one more thing that falls to the bottom of the priority list. I am sharing my tough experience with diabetes for 2 reasons. First, some of you reading may also have experienced what I have. If you have, I am sorry. Know that you are not alone. Diabetes sucks, but there are many of us going through it, and we can help each other. Secondly, it does get better. I went through this horrible stage of burnout, and now I have better control of my diabetes, and I'm a much more empathetic person. So you can do this. 3 things I think will help. Be aware of the signs of diabetes burnout. And then tell your parents, friends, doctors, caregivers what is going on in your life. And then make a plan. Make it as simple and achievable as you can. And remember that you are never alone. This last slide here is just some resources I found for this presentation, and they're here in case maybe there's something there that could help you. Thank you for joining me on this workshop. I appreciate your time.